Let's talk about T. Higgins. We are fired up about T. Higgins. We'll tell you why right now. I'm Adam Azer. That is Jacob Gibbs. Jacob Gibbs of Sportsline. We just talked about Chase Claypool on yesterday's show. Today we talk about a guy that's going basically back-to-back with Chase Claypool. Who would you rather have, Jacob?
It's really tough, but I am taking T. Higgins. I actually end up getting Claypool on the way back quite often because I'm really, really high on both of these guys. I have them at wide receiver 20, Higgins, and 21, Claypool. But I do feel a little bit more secure in Higgins, and it's because we have a larger sample size of him dominating targets. We saw that in all 3 years at Clemson. He had a career 30% target per route run rate there, and his rate never dropped below 27% in any of those years. So that's really impressive year-over-year consistency. And then a fourth year sample size was provided last year where he came in and immediately dominated targets. He on a team that had, AJ Green and Tyler Boyd, only 6 rookies have been targeted at a higher rate than Higgins was in 2020 in the 4 years that I have the data. So just behind rookie AJ Brown, just ahead of CeeDee Lamb and Terry McLaurin. And so that's really impressive. All the per route data basically suggests that he's right up there with the best rookie receivers we've had over the past few years.
Yeah, and I was amazed at how productive he was, even with A.J. Green getting a lot of targets when Joe Burrow was healthy last year. So you say, well, they're throwing in Jamar Chase, but Jamar Chase will be better than A.J. Green, I hope at least. But Green took a lot of targets away, and I love the efficiency for Higgins. So he started out slow. His first 2 weeks, he had combined 6 targets, 3 catches. Week 3, he had 5 catches, 40 yards, 2 touchdowns, and I did not buy in. I just said, well, okay, great. He caught 2 touchdowns, but he had 40 yards on 9 targets. He hasn't had more than 40 yards in a game. Right after that, he went nuts. His next 7 games with Joe Burrow, including when Burrow left with an injury, he was very consistent, first of all, but his pace, his 16-game pace in those 7 games was 80 catches, 1,266 yards, 5 touchdowns on 128 targets. Higgins caught 62% of his targets in that stretch. He averaged 15.8 yards per catch, and that is just you can't fake that. I mean, you can't be a bad player or I think you got to be basically a great player to do that as a rookie. That's incredible, especially with a rookie quarterback who wasn't even that good last year. He was fine. So I'm so encouraged. And it wasn't 1 or 2 big games that made that stretch, Jacob. He had 70 or more yards in 5 of 6 games during that stretch. He had 61 yards, I think, in the other game. And then when Burrow got hurt, he didn't have such a good game against Washington. But I don't know. I was so impressed by it. What else jumped out at you with Higgins?
I'm glad you brought that up. That got me even more excited. But yeah, it just speaks to the fact that he looked like the wide receiver 1, the whole time he was there, even with, the competition, like you mentioned, with AJ Green getting all those targets. Once he took over after week 3 or week 4, I think it was, like you said, he looked like a wide receiver 1. And my second stat here is just that he was a standout among recent rookies in yards per route run as well. So over the past 5 seasons, only 6 receivers have averaged more yards per route run than Higgins did last year. And that's really impressive when you consider the offense that he was playing in. It was just artificially suppressing the efficiency of all the players within it, but he still had one of the most efficient seasons we've seen of any rookie recently.
Give me your third T. Higgins stat to get people excited about drafting him.
Okay, so this is my favorite T. Higgins stat. It's really absurd. On deep balls, Higgins had a 35% catch rate and averaged 5.3 yards per route run in 2020. All other Bengals receivers had a 14% catch rate and averaged 1.03 yard per route run. That's really absurd. He was top 10 with an offense that could not throw deep at all. He was just out there balling, did not let Cincinnati's offensive environment affect him at all. And then if you look at, the yards per run, it was the same story. Tyler Boyd was 1.65. AJ Green was 1.02. Cincinnati's as a whole, the receivers averaged 1.4. The league average is 1.76. Higgins was 1.83. And we've seen Tyler Boyd average over 2 yards at the, NFL level, but he could not overcome Cincinnati's offensive circumstances. The only one who could was T. Higgins. And if it gets significantly better, like we think it might, I really think it could explode in year 2.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. At one point before the preseason started, I just said, and I love Jamar Chase, amazing prospect, but I saw it from T. Higgins. So I decided I was in on Higgins. And I was originally a Tyler Boyd guy. Not that I thought he'd be the best, but that I thought he'd have the best value. He still might in full PPR. But at one point I just said, you know what, I'm going Higgins over Chase. And now everybody's there because Chase had such a disappointing preseason. Don't sleep on him either. This could be great. Based on the last 2 podcasts we did, Ben Roethlisberger and Joe Burrow in a 2QB league, you're going to be just fine. That is Jacob Gibbs. I am Adam Azer. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. We'll come at you tomorrow with another episode of Fantasy Football.